Sweet potato pie. It's me. Welcome, everyone. It's me, King Polly, and this is King Pollys World, episode 7. 777, lucky number 7. We got the Vegas 7. It's 2022. It's a new dawn. It's a new day, and I'm feeling good.
Wow.
I'm joined today by your favorite guest so far. The only guest so far, if I'm going to be real. He's the championship fighter of my heart, King Pollys Husband. Golf gardener, husband, father, and co-star of the century. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And you're joined by our lovely dog, Luna Brown.
Luna Brown.
The baddest bitch in the whole damn town.
Luna Brown.
And we are doing this podcast on slightly short notice because a guest fell through.
Life happens.
And you are to the rescue. Thank you.
It's cool to be your backup.
I appreciate it. And we thought it'd be really fun today if we took a trip down memory lane and we went back to elementary school. Back to where it all began. The Vegas streets. The concrete walls. The hot metal jungle gyms of the 90's. So that's our topic for today, isn't it, baby?
Yeah, schools. What it was like going to school, I guess.
Because I don't know if this is how it is with everybody, but it feels like it was just yesterday that I was a little kid. I can remember so much. And that little kid still lives in me today. So say hello to my little kid, everybody. She's really excited to be here. She finally has her mic. And she finally has her love. So, and her dog. And a lot of you that I may not know in the physical realm, but I do know and appreciate for joining this world that we've created. So we both went to elementary school in Las Vegas.
Did you go to the same elementary school all the way through?
I went to kindergarten at J.T. McWilliams and had a teacher who was very mean. I remember she was mean.
Your kindergarten teacher?
Yeah.
Was it the same one all day, or did you have like a morning and afternoon teacher?
I had afternoon kindergarten, but in the morning I was at preschool. And they took me on the bus to kindergarten. And it was the last school. So I was always late. And I think that's one reason my teacher was always mean to me. But I had no control. So you can picture just me, little me, just like sitting there, just like anxious as hell. Just like, oh, I'm going to be late again. I have to rely on these. You know, it was just really annoying for me. And I didn't have a voice. I couldn't voice it. And so that's what it was. And I remember we all sat in a circle one day. This is what I remember from kindergarten. That and sitting in a circle learning to tie your shoes, and how a lot of the kids already knew how and I didn't. And I remember just feeling already like not ahead of the game and like, shit, man. So I went home and made my parents teach me how to tie my shoes.
That day?
Yes.
When you got into kindergarten, were you already a good reader?
You know, that's a really good question. I remember always reading books, so I guess so. But no, I don't know. I have no idea. Oh, wait. Because by first grade, I was narrating a play. So I feel like on some level I had to have been.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe. Yeah. And then the other thing I remember is having to say the ABCs. Like that was one of the big things you had to do in kindergarten. And our teacher would take us one at a time outside. It's kind of weird when I say it now. But thinking back, it actually was nice. It worked because she'd take us out by the playground or out under a tree.
Comfortable place, safe place.
Yeah, and just
tap into it.
She'd be like, okay. And I remember going, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, you know, just doing as fast as I could and being so happy. And then I remember she brought in cactus for us to eat. She was like, I'm going to bring in cactus. And we're like, what? And so I remember eating cactus. And that was really cool. I still remember that. The teachers that did cool things like that, I remember. So that was my kindergarten experience. What about you?
So I went to First Good Shepherd. So it was a private Lutheran school on like Maryland Parkway in Charleston, like in between Bonanza and Charleston. And kindergarten, it was kindergarten through 6th grade. And it had, in kindergarten, I just remember there was a morning teacher, Mrs. I want to say Ironberg, but I don't think that that's it. Her grandson was in my class from kindergarten to 6th grade. That was pretty cool. We were in class together. And that was also cool. Like there was like 4 or 5 friends that we were in the same class from kindergarten to 6th grade.
Wow. See, that's honestly, like, that's really cool to me.
Yeah, it was
that makes sense. Like, how else do you build relationships?
Yeah, it was like, it felt like a really safe spot, safe space. It was very grateful for it.
It's not changing the kids around every 2 seconds like marbles.
Yeah, just not as much. Yeah, for sure. And then we had an afternoon teacher, and what I remember is like I always kind of had naturally have that little pigtail in the back. And for some reason during nap time, I was never a napper.
Call it a pigtail? Rat tail?
Rat tail? Yeah, no, rat tails are long. Like a little pigtail's a little small.
I guess I just think a pigtail has to be 2.
No, pigtails.
Wow, that's weird.
Pigtail.
That's weird. Then why aren't all ponytails called pigtails?
Because a pigtail is just really tiny. Haven't you ever seen a little pigtail? It's like a big body and then a little tail.
Wow, I just learned something new.
So that's what, kind of like a little pigtail. It's not a ponytail. A pony has a big tail on its ass on the farm. Okay. The pig has a tiny tail. Anyways, I remember
there's a little redhead boy with his pigtail.
Yeah, in nap time, I wasn't a napper, and I just remember sitting beside the teacher, and she would take a pencil, and she would just like I don't know, like she would just roll it up my neck on that pigtail, and it felt so good, and she would just do it over and over again. It's kind of weird saying it out loud. But yeah, that was my memory of kindergarten right now. You know what's also interesting is this morning when I was kind of laying down meditating, I had a thought of like, why does not every classroom have a camera? And every parent should have access to that camera to observe their child and the teacher, so that you could somewhat, observe your child's behavior in class as well as the teacher's behavior.
Totally.
Like just that element of accountability.
And isn't that funny? We kind of are there, like with TikTok.
Pretty close.
For the older kids, like you can't do anything without somebody. You can't hide shit, and well, let's hope. It's harder and harder to hide things.
Yeah.
Like that. It's funny you said it was hard for you to take naps. Like preschool, we took naps. We never took naps in kindergarten. And I could never sleep either. I wasn't a napper. And I remember laying there one time, right? Just under my soft little mint green comforter and my pillow and laying on my gross cold mat. And just looking at the teachers sitting there talking, eating, and just like watching them. Not doing anything, just... And one turns and looks at me, and she gets angry, and she walks over, and she puts my covers over my head. And I was so angry. I just sat there just like, what the? I'm not doing anything to you, bitch. Is this real? So I had a lot of, right off the bat, just crummy, overworked women around me. But then I did have a savior woman around me. And her name was Miss Pat. And she owned the preschool. And my first day being dropped off, I couldn't stop crying. Like, I couldn't stop. Like, I was like I couldn't. And I remember she sat me down and she taught me how to breathe. And I remember just like that, like that's what it was. Like nobody had done that. And it was just like, oh, thank you, Miss Pat. Oh, this is for you, Miss Pat. Country school on Decatur and Smoke Ranch. Right by the horses. And so we just always smell horse poop, but we got to see horses, so it was a give and take.
My preschool was called Little Wranglers. And I didn't do nap time there, but I was like I don't want to say like a smooth talker, but like I just knew how to be of service and to like weasel my way out of the crowd.
Wow.
Like I was just always able to get out of the crowd. And I just remember like during nap time, like I was assigned to be like the assistant helper, and like I would go into the office area and like I would just be walking in the halls.
Of course you were. You're that one that I was always like, how'd they get back there?
Yeah, you gotta know how to talk to them. Mm-hmm. You gotta know how to talk.
That's funny. Wow. That's great. Okay. And so now first grade.
I don't really have anything. Second grade, I have something.
Okay, well, I have something for every grade. Don't you guys worry. Don't you worry at all. First grade is when I moved to Ronzoni Elementary. Ronzoni Rattlers. And that's on Lake Mead and Jones-ish. And I had 2 teachers because we had a bigger class. And it was Miss Crine and Miss Nesbitt. And they were so sweet. And they were so great. And one of them lived up in Mount Charleston. And so when it snowed, she would bring down a cooler of snow for us all to play in at recess. And it was just the coolest thing in the world. It was just like, wow, like you're an angel. And they also gave me the part in this first grade play. That's when my complex started, because I got narrator number 2. And it only worsened from there. You know, in high school, the first part I got was lady in waiting number 2. Like, wow, I don't even have a name, and I'm number 2. This is great. But anyways, so me and this girl, Katie, she was narrator number 1, and I just assumed that meant she read better than me. All this in first grade. And it was, the play was Rikki Tikki Tembo, No Sir Rembo, Ikana Nuna, Kanaron Tombo. At least that's what I remember.
Great story.
And I had to say that a lot because that was the name of something. And I just stood there in a microphone, you know, in the pit, little pit, and all the kids just sitting there like moving, scratching, just like, ah! And I'm just going, Rikki Tikki Tembo, No Sir Rembo, Ikana Nuna, Kanaron Tombo. And I think I had some sort of bell or gong or triangle. I had something I got to hit. It was just so cool to me. It was my favorite. And I didn't have to be involved with all the other stuff. I got to say words. Nobody else did. So that was first grade for me. Oh, and that was the first time I cheated on a test. I remember when the teachers weren't looking, I just literally leaned over and said, "What's number 5? What's the answer?" And got it and wrote it. Like, and people just looked at me, and I was like, "What's number 5?" Oh, and spelling bee. That was my first spelling bees. I spelled coat wrong. I spelled it COTE.
Son of a...
Yeah.
Darn spelling bee.
Right. All right, what's your second grade thing?
Second grade, the teacher was the principal's wife, and she was kind of strict, right? He was the water to the fire, right? And so she was definitely like kind of like a fire, and like more strict, more stern. And I had this story, and a friend that was sitting next to me, and I just couldn't stop telling him the story. Whatever it was, I don't know. I just remember I couldn't stop talking. And she got so frustrated with me that day and called me out and then sent me to the principal's office. And somehow at that element, at that stage, they still swatted the kids with this like plastic rubber belt. Right, was like an element of structure and discipline.
Oh
and she wanted me and my friend to get the belt, the belt, and so like it was like this thing, and I remember like we went upstairs and like the principal, like it was more of like a theatrical thing, it felt like, and like I could almost feel it because I was like Mr. Kraft, like you ain't really gonna do this to me, and I could just sense that he was just kind of playing along to like please Mrs. Kraft, and he took us up and like he took my friend into the room first and like was in there for like 5 minutes with him, and then he took me in there and like kind of just talked to the situation and just like, hey, this is what we need to do different, and then like it turned around and he just like barely hit us with this thing, and I was like, okay. And like I remember walking downstairs like because I was terrified going upstairs to this spot, and then coming downstairs, and I thought, oh my god, I completely got away with it. Like I just felt like the coolest kid in the world, and I felt so powerful. And then right before coming down the steps, right before we go from the steps into the classroom, my fucking mom sees me coming down the steps, right? Because she volunteered that day to be the lunch lady. and and then she asks, Mr. Kraft, what happened, and then I was totally fucking busted, and I probably got a good swatting when I got home. I don't remember, but um, yeah, and that was the last year that they did that. I don't think like I think you can almost just feel it. Like Mr. Kraft was like, we can't be doing this or something, like because that was like the last year that happened. So that was like 1987.
Wow. Yeah, that, no. We're talking about traumatizing. Oh my God. Like, you gotta go to school and get whipped? And home and get whipped? Oh my God.
Wow.
Thank God for the birth of gentle parenting these days. Parenting wasn't gentle. At least, I can't speak for everybody. But that's crazy. You got in that much trouble. But just that I was never sent to the principal's
It
office ever.
sounds it yeah, I guess it sounds pretty crazy. You know what? And to think about it, like I was always getting sent to the principal's office because I just was always social. I couldn't be quiet. It wasn't like I was bad or disrespectful. And then when I went to I'd always get sent to the principal's office, and it was just so interesting. Like literally, I'd walk in there, and the teacher would be upset, and they'd send me in there, and then I had such a good relationship with the principal's secretary, and she loved me. I was like her favorite because as soon as I went there, I was like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And so literally, like I'm licking stamps, stamping envelopes, right? And then the principal comes in and says, "Why is Sean in here?" And then, oh, whatever. And like the secretary, like just says, like I don't even know half of what I actually did or
That's funny.
whatever. That's just my memory of like how it kind of was.
Wow.
I was super tight with the principal secretary. I remember that by second grade.
My second grade, I had literally like one of my favorite teachers ever, Miss Carteranella. And her hair was always done, right? Just like that old lady style. And because she never wanted to mess up her hair when she'd scratch her head, she'd either stick one finger in there and go, or a pencil. Like it was so funny, like just like. And she did this cool thing where she picked students of the month, like 3 of us. And during lunch, which you can't do this now, she'd take us across, like down the street to Carl's Jr. And we'd get to order a kid's meal, what we wanted. And if we didn't finish it all then, we could, when she took us back, sit in the back of the class and finish it while she taught. And so I was student of the month, I don't know, at least 3 times. And so I was always just so happy because I'd get the chicken stars and the honey sauce. And I just felt like, I'm free. I get to leave the school when other people don't. I get to eat. And we'd get to pick a gift out of the treasure chest. And I remember one of them I chose was a poster, a legit poster, an awesome poster. Like as a kid, just like, and it was a Lion King poster. And it was Mufasa and Simba. And there was like a purple violet background. It was so pretty to me. And I loved it. And so that was like, I love second grade.
What's coming up for me right now is second grade is when things got serious for me. Like second grade is when we had to start doing book reports and like my school was kind of tough. Like they wanted, and Mrs. Kraft didn't fuck around, you know. Like I already told you a little bit about her. Like she was tough, and like it was like book reports, math, like all these subjects started to get real. And I think they hit us a little hard at this school compared to like maybe
Totally.
regular public school. But it's interesting how like that helped me down the road, kind of, you know. But yeah, a lot of my fears around school started to come up, and I started to recognize like I was really good at math. Like I excelled in some areas. Like I started to recognize my strengths and weaknesses and started to develop like, I don't know, I think just that element of like what we can lead into like around fourth grade when I like just that discovery of the systems. It was my first kind of starting to get the awareness of like okay, I'm starting to be put in categories, I'm starting to get labeled, like there's systems.
Yeah, I had no awareness of that. I just blindly followed authority, like a lot of the kids. But I also, on some level, was very much impatient and eager to soak up as much as I could.
Another crucial thing that happened in second grade is my mom actually, like, I kind of feel like I finagled her to kind of do most of my book report. And then
Your mom would do your book report for you?
well, it's just an element of, I don't know. I'm not saying that she would do it for me. It's just this at this time, like again, Mrs. Kraft was tough. So like I feel like I did one report and it was like so like she was so tough about it. Like it was just, I don't know. Like I just feel like my mom
Wow.
did like a I just remember that I remember like I did a report, it was just so tough, and then the next time like my mom did most of it and I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. And then like the teacher, like it like I got away with it, and then the teacher still graded it super harsh. Like my mom got like a super bad grade on it. Like it wasn't like she got like an A or anything. Like it was still like,
See, it's just,
and so
grading. Bleh.
but then it was like kind of like then it like was a crack in the system, right? It was like my first like awareness and like, well, wait a minute, like you're asking me to do something, and then like I thought you guys were like, but you guys are like against each other. Like
Yeah,
who's holding each other accountable? Like I thought like I was gonna get in trouble
I didn't get into
by my
that.
mom, and then like
I
like,
was eager to do the book reports. I wanted to learn about the country I got. I wanted to learn about it. Third grade was when multiplication tables came. That was a horrific time in my life because I think, you know, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And for me, numbers was one of my weaknesses. And how some people are with words and letters, I am with numbers. And I can't remember certain numbers together. And it just, like, I have to see it. I'm very visual and, like, I don't know. So multiplication tables to me was just memorization. And it terrified me, like, because we had speed tests and it was like every week you had a speed test. You had to get through your twos, then your threes, then your fours, and if you didn't, you just had to take that one over and over. And I
and
had
see,
a
I
teacher.
excelled because I could recognize patterns.
Yeah, I couldn't yet. And my teacher's name was Miss Bade, and she was so rude and annoying and strict and just like a regular ass, just ugh. But there's always a silver lining, and that was she made us all Christmas ornaments for Christmas. And so I remember I had a really pretty green shiny ball, and then in pretty silver writing it said my name, and I kept that for so long. In fact, it's probably still, if my parents still have ornaments there. But it was also, my crushes started to develop then. I started to write in my diary about boys that I was obsessed with.
That was when my fear and anxiety around grammar and reading and writing started. It was right there. And just this element of just trying to get out of it and avoid it, and then just focusing on like numbers, math, and money, and then people, communication. I felt like, you know, is it more important that I learn how to get someone to do the book report for me or that I learn how to do the book report? Because I was like, wow, like that's a skill in itself.
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't know it. I mean, these are all like These are all things that I became aware of later
Being
on.
smart isn't necessarily being good at schoolwork.
Yeah.
They're very different. It's just,
Yeah, I was on a
are you
different...
good at basically intaking and regurgitating?
Yeah, I checked out on a lot of that stuff, especially the grammar.
Fourth grade was
Fourth grade was big.
so fun. Oh, third grade too, I got glasses and a perm at the same time.
Was like, yeah, third grade wasn't much for me.
I'd always wanted curly hair. It didn't work well. I had really fine hair, and it didn't work out. But why would you give your third grader a perm is really more my question. Like, really, that's a real question. Like, what planet? Why a third grader?
Well, knowing you, you weren't a normal third grader. And I can totally see little Abby, which was basically an 8-year-old body in like a 30-year-old mind, and you were just so desperately wanting to be an adult, and somehow that was identified as representing like being an adult, plus the process. Like, I feel like you probably liked more the process than anything, because...
And I wonder, because I loved Curly Sue, the movie Curly Sue.
And too, like, there was something about it, like, even me as a kid, like, my uncle got perms, and I remember being a kid wanting to get a perm, because there was something about, like every movie and everything you saw in a hair salon was, like, somebody sitting in the curlers underneath the dryer. So there was, like, an element of just, like, wanting to sit under the dryer.
I guess you're right. Yeah, like that was something that always looked fun.
Like, when I first got highlights in my hair, like, in my 20s, like, I remember sitting under the dryer for the first time, and it was like, wow, this is, like, something I weirdly always wanted to do. And I don't think I really recognized all of that till just now talking to you.
Interesting. Well, again, what you see in the movies. I saw this in the movies. I really wanted this to happen.
Programming.
Yeah. Fourth grade for me was the time of my life. I had a teacher, Mr. Grunwald, and he had 2 roommates that all were at that school. So I'm, a little 9-year-old, and these guys are like 28, and they're all roommates, and like they're working in elementary school. Like, it was just so funny, and they were just so cool. And the other one taught my brother 3rd grade, and then the other one was the PE teacher. And I remember just thinking that was so cool. Like, and I wanted roommates that I worked with. Like that'd be the dream. Oh my God, which ended up happening to me. And it's really not the dream, but it is, but it's not. So 4th grade too, I had my best friend in my class, and we formed the PPC, which was the Party Planner Club. And we met at recess, and we would talk about what parties we wanted to throw. It probably lasted, like a month, maybe. But we did throw a party. My 4th grade teacher was gone for like a week or 2, and when he came back, I wanted to have a party. And so I, talked to the custodian, and I told them, hi, I'm Abby with the PPC. And we have a party we'd like to be able to decorate for. We want to be surprised, so could you let us in the classroom at lunch or whatever time, his prep, I don't know when it was. And she agreed. Thinking about it now, like, this is funny, just this level of like, that I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. We can do it. Like, why not? We got to have some fun, man. Like, and
make it happen.
So somebody brought chips, another person like soda, like who knows, but we managed to pull it together. And
that's awesome.
But there was one, what is the word? One whatever.
Party pooper? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, not party pooper.
That's where I thought you were going. I don't know.
Not everyone could be in there to help decorate. She was like, I can't have, so it can just be you. And I think maybe one other, maybe Andrea. And then the custodian helped. So that was the one thing.
Stipulation.
Yeah, that's it. And so that was a lot of fun. I also had a crush on a boy named Zach Hudson, and he also liked Alanis Morissette. So we would talk about what our favorite songs were on the cassette. And I remember he said Mary Jane was his favorite. And right then I kind of was like, that's your favorite? Like, I don't know anybody that's their favorite, but okay. But at the time I was like, this might be a red flag. Just kidding. But I'm not. And then when we were talking, we were on the playground and I picked up a wood chip and I was holding it while we were talking and I kept the wood chip for years after.
And what did the wood chip represent?
That conversation with the boy I liked.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you write on the wood chip?
No, just kept it.
Copy.
It's 'cause my Venus is in Scorpio. If you know, you know. And that was also, I got in a lot of fights with my best friend, kind of. And so in the yearbook, I drew red dots on her nostrils. And that was the equivalent to, like, I don't know, you know, like that was some.
I feel like
dissing.
I remember, I feel like I remember drawing, like you just put a flash on my head, in my mind, of like drawing like devil horns on someone's.
Right? Yeah, like,
or, like
who you didn't like.
Mustaches on girls' faces.
Right. And it was just like, and I remember she was crying and I felt so bad. And I tried,
awful.
I put white out on it to try to, and I remember my teacher had to get involved and he was like, you guys are best friends, just go apologize. And that was it. And that was a simple, just such a great advice. And I was like, okay.
You guys are both being dicks. Just both make amends.
Yeah. So that was my 4th grade. Don't remember anything. Don't remember a single thing I learned in 4th grade. Not one thing. At all. And throughout all of this, when I love art and I love library. You know how you have, like, each day you have a special thing. So art and library and music. Those were my favorite. Even though I did have a mean music teacher that told me I couldn't sing, named Miss Giuliani. Miss Giuliani, I've never forgot. And I remember she was all about, like, oh yeah, oh yeah, you know, and we're just kids, like. So she didn't let me in choir.
Fourth grade was a heavy year for me. I mean, I've had to do a lot of work around that year because there's a lot of like pain and just stuff that I've had to. Something shifted around there. There's a lot of things that occurred in my life at that time, and I think there were some outside things that occurred that transferred into that. But fourth grade was the first year where like I had heavy waves of anxiety that would come and hit me. And I would have so much fear on Monday to go to school. Like, it was just, like, incomprehensible. But through looking back, my truth today is that it's kind of like, I was having awarenesses around, like, the Matrix and being, like, a prisoner. I had lots of thoughts and was constantly thinking, like, wow, like, I'm stuck in this system till 12th grade. That's another 8 years of my life. And just feeling like I wanted to be outside and play so bad. And I was stuck in this classroom. And then, like, I also had this awareness that I had this, like, amazing skill with getting people to, like, do what I wanted them to do. And being able to craft words. And I started to see energy in words instead of just words, and attached, like there was actually motion that could be attached with words. Like I just started to see things weird. And I also realized, like, wow, like I'm really good at sales, and I was really into fancy cars at that time. And I was like, well, I could always just make money selling cars or houses. And so, like, okay, like I don't have to worry about school, and I don't have to worry about education. And so, like, I kind of checked out. And then I also recognized and found out that they did placement tests, and some of these tests that they had us do, and I guessed on them. And I just abacadabraed these tests, these Scantron sheets, and then they said I had reading disabilities and all this stuff. And so then they, like, never pressed me to be good at school again. And so, like, I could always just kind of show up to whatever I had to do in school and either just figure it out or I could cheat, or I would make cheat sheets. I was always doing something. And so like this element
Wow.
of like I said, like I went through separation in 4th grade.
You were like busting out of this old world
But then being sucked
almost from the
in,
beginning on
and then
some
too,
level.
and then you got to remember it's a Lutheran school, so then I'm also, I got Bible study every Wednesday, and we're reading the Bible every morning, and we're going through. So I'm getting somehow downloaded with all of this. We did church every Wednesday, and I felt like a relationship with God at that point. So something was talking to me and telling me, and like, you don't have to worry, Sean. Like, because like I was thinking about killing myself when like I was so terrified and like felt like I was in prison. And like it was just like why are we living like this? Like this isn't how God designed it. And I think that was also like they're feeding me all this information about God, but then I'm not living it. Like this isn't like you're telling me all these stories about the Bible, and and you know, we're really focused on like I guess probably Jesus's word, you know, because we're kids. I don't think they were really hitting us with a whole bunch of Old Testament stuff. I don't really know. Like I don't really recall a lot. I just know I somehow had the presence, and somehow had communication.
That's
But it was super. 4th grade was
such a
super
godsend
intense
that,
when I look back.
that you did get through it.
Oh, so much.
Because that came later on for me, just recognizing like, wait, how much longer do I have to do this? And the waking up and like the certain classes and the fluorescent lighting and just all the people and what I was learning and just certain things just not
And who
being
knows what I was
retained.
feeling at home too, because like I know that was around the same time that my dad got into recovery and sobriety. So there's so much going on that I was probably experiencing and I didn't recognize at that time.
Totally. Um, yeah, that more stuff for me at home started in 5th grade. That's when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Hmm.
And that, again, I had an angel in my life as my teacher. Like my teachers really did get progressively better. But I did have some wonderful teachers like Ronzoni, mad love for all of you. Like, my God, Mr. Grunwald, Miss Carteranella, Miss Johansson, Miss Van Winkle. But so Miss Johansson was my 5th grade teacher, and she, on some level, had survived, or her mom had survived. Like, there was a Holocaust connection, one. So she was just this incredibly like strong woman, and she was like 6 foot tall,
Whoa.
and she kind of reminded me of Mrs. Doubtfire, like dressed wise, hair, like, and it was just like Miss Johansson, like she just looked so much like a teacher. Like she was the epitome of a teacher, you know, like she was a teacher to me in my, mind. But she was kind of the first one to see something in me that the other teachers didn't. And so she was the one that nominated me for GATE, Gifted and Talented Education, which I think they're getting rid of. Which I went one dime, and I looked around and I was like, no, I don't want to ever come back here. It was like science and puzzles. And I was like, I'd rather be in class.
Which is what I needed.
Yeah, you would have loved GATE. Like, and you would have never tested for it. Like, isn't that funny how that works? Like, GATE wasn't for me. My mind didn't work that way. So I denied it. But Miss Johansson, she had an election. She was like, we're going to have a class president. And I was immediately like, yes, I'm going to run for president. And
I'm going to be in charge.
I don't know what it was, but I guess on some level the lead.
In charge, control breeds a sense of safety, seeking somewhat of attention, validation. It's all of it.
I wanted to be president.
Yeah, it's all part of the human experience.
But to how much of my life I've wanted to play the part of things. Like when it came time for the day for me to give my speech, I dressed the part. I wore, picture little 10-year-old me, right? I asked my mom, you have to give me a French braid. I wanted one long, just like adult lawyer French braid. And then I had a turtleneck, beige, short sleeve, like dress shirt, brown leather suspenders, and brown plaid slacks with my loafers. I was like, oh yeah.
Game time.
Here we go.
Game time.
And this one girl named Courtney in class, she volunteered to be my campaign manager. Can I be your campaign manager? I was like, sure, yes, that sounds great. What are you going to do? I can make posters. I can help tell people to vote for you. I was like, yeah, sounds great, right? And I was running against the boy I had a crush on, Jordan. And so that was also interesting because I'm like, I like him, but I want to win.
Yeah, right.
And too, there was a part of me that really wanted to be a girl president. Like, that's always been a piece for a lot of things. Obviously, I'm King Pollys. So I gave my speech. Don't remember really what I said. I do know I promised longer recesses. And Jordan gave his speech. And then there was a third person running, but I don't remember. There's always a third person running. And then everybody voted. And there was one extra vote. And everybody is like, what? And the teacher's like, okay, now somebody come forward. Who cast an extra vote? And it ended up being my campaign manager. But she voted for both of us. She's like, I couldn't decide. And I went, you're my campaign manager. What do you mean you couldn't decide? You volunteered for this. I didn't ask you. Like, is this? I got so mad at her. Like, I was like, is this? But I still won. But I only won by like literally like 2 votes, 1 vote, 2 votes. But I won. And I remember just feeling like, yes. Like, oh, yes. And I remember talking to Miss Johansson and being like, okay, so is there a way that you can we get 5 minutes longer when the lunch bell rings outside? I promised it, and she said yes. How long it lasted, I don't remember that. But it was just like, okay, I did what I said. Like, this is awesome.
I just had the funniest visual come to my mind, and it was like the day after that happens, right? And that poor little girl has to like line up, and like she has to like wait in line, and you're standing behind her or something. Like just the evil glare that you must have given that little girl.
No, because I got over it. Like, when you're a kid, like, I don't know. I just, like, in that moment, I'm angry at you. But I was never mean. Like, I wasn't trying to make her feel bad. Because she was so sweet and, like, meek and gentle. And, like,
okay. So it was more like that.
It was just like, what? Like, I was confused. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, what? Like, nothing about it made sense. Like, you came to me. Like, then you couldn't decide. What?
Okay, yeah.
But it was her. And so we all just kind of like, oh, Courtney.
That's her. Okay.
So no, there was only one kid that in elementary school I made cry. And he was bullying my brother, who was a year younger than me. And I went up to him, I grabbed him on the sandbox by the shirt, and I pulled him, and I said, if you ever mess with my brother again. And he started crying, and he peed his pants. Now that's my memory, but like, I don't know if that's real, but that's what I remember. And I remember just feeling like, yeah. And my brother could care less. You know what I mean? He was probably like, he wasn't even bullying me.
He didn't even say nothing to me, sis.
But I was just so like, Venus and Scorpio for the ones I love.
You know what else came up for me too is like somewhere around 4th grade was the fear of also money and tuition, having to pay for that school. And there was also this element of like having to be taken out of it, and then like this fear of public school, and then fear of just all the kids. Like I went from, like you had said, like I went from the 30 kids,
yeah,
like
scary.
all of 4th grade was 30 kids, and then to go to where 3rd grade's 150 kids or whatever it was. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. It was just.
So when did you go to public school?
Middle school.
6th grade.
7th.
Oh, 7th grade. And wow, and then you went to Burnley.
Yep.
Me too. But in 2000. In the year 2000. 5th grade too, we had Dare. Dare to keep off drugs. Dare to just say no. And then a police officer would come in and talk to us once a week about the dangers of drugs, alcohol, and violence. Which, half of it was great. And the other half was, come here, kids, narc on your parents for smoking grass. And the other part was programming. But I took it very seriously. I really believed that I would never smoke cigarettes, that I would never drink alcohol, that I would never do drugs, and that I'd never do violence. And I did all of those things. And that'd be one thing, like, so what? But I won 2nd place for my Dare essay, too, out of all of Clark County. And about how, I would never do those things and what those things would do. And it's just so funny, like this element that at that age, we think we know anything really. And we believe the people that are telling us things, and it's, everybody's soul is meant to experience what it's meant to experience. And my soul was meant to experience all the Dare things later on. But I couldn't, that was like a point for me in 5th grade that I was being pulled because my mom got cancer, right? So I couldn't be there to give my speech at school. And I remember like thinking, oh, that sucks so bad. But like, of course, I got to be with my mom. And we went to Colorado for her treatment. And I remember my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Hansen, her one day in class pulling me over to the table to talk to me. And it was just like one of the most heartfelt, real conversations I had ever had. And, she shared with me, she's like, so your mom told me that, she has breast cancer, and I want you to know that I had breast cancer too. And I was like, really? And you're okay? She told me that she had had a double mastectomy. So she had both her breasts removed. And like, I remember I was very aware of the weight of what she was sharing with me, and that it wasn't for everybody to hear. And that it would be between us. And I remember I just felt so special after that, like, and connected, and that she shared a part of herself that other people didn't know, and she trusted me with it. And she was just so inspirational and talking to me, and I felt like so relieved after talking to her, because the conversation I'd had with my parents was, they came out of the office, which was the smoke room, cigarette smoke room. Me and my brother and my cousin were playing video games. And they said, can you pause that for a minute? We have something we have to tell you. Your mom has breast cancer, but she's going to be okay. And don't worry. And I remember my eyes started to tear up, but I didn't want to cry, right? Like, because they're like, don't worry, it'll be okay. And then they're like, do you have anything you want to say, any questions? And we were just like, and they went back in the office. And I remember just sitting there after, just holding the tears in my eyes, just like, my mom might die. And she didn't. But it was a very, 5th grade kind of started a new wave in my life. And graduation, and oh my God, I can't believe I didn't mention it, baby. That I was the announcer on the morning pledge, too. That was my 5th grade duty as president. I got to every morning leave class, walk to the office. The office lady would know me, bring me into the room, give me a sheet of paper with things that I needed to say. And it was an old school office phone. And you this button's for intercom, you know, and I'd be watching the clock like, and then, good morning, boys and girls. Will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by 30 seconds of silence. And then I would wait. I pledge allegiance to the flag. But actually, I would have the phone in this hand so I could have my hand on my heart too. I took it very seriously. I would even say the pledge on weekdays if I drove by a flag. Like the amount of patriotism that's ingrained. You know what I mean? Like I really believed it all. Like I was like, you know, and as funny as it is now, right? It's all the things. I'm so grateful for that. It's hilarious and weird and strange.
That's what makes us us.
Yeah. And I continued. I said the announcements in 6th grade because I was in student council. And then in high school because I was in theater. Like, I really liked being on a microphone, in case you can't tell. I was trying any way I could. Intercom? Sure. Intercom? Pick me. Pick me. You mean everybody will hear this voice? Sounds good. But I was still nervous. I always was nervous. I always had anxiety. Every day before school. And I didn't know what it was. And my mom called them gas pains. Oh, you just have gas pains. Oh, okay. Just the gas pains. Just a normal everyday morning feeling here. Just gas pains. Just deal with it.
I got a lot of good memories, more so with like 6th grade, 5th grade, whatever. But 6th grade was like the last year for me. So 6th grade at my school was like the 5th grade year for like graduating, and we had a camp that we did where we went and stayed for a couple of days up at Lee Canyon. And then the other cool memory that was like a real big highlight for, I mean, all of us there was Andre Agassi went to school there. So that was like, he was like the celebrity kind of that school. And then like
right,
there was
like,
one
if he
time.
did it, I can do it.
Yeah, or that, because he was a real big deal at that time. And like, wow, like I go to the same school as Andre Agassi. And then like he came, his nephew was in the kindergarten class that year. And he came and picked up his nephew from kindergarten. And he came and picked him up in a black Vector, which was like an American-made Lamborghini sports car at the time. You know, just like a super rare, like super loud, fast, exotic car. And like it was just like, and everybody got to go out there, and like he drove off. When he drove off, it was like the movies.
Wow, you remember seeing him?
Yeah, I remember him driving off. Yeah.
I remember the Wienermobile going by my school. So
And I remember
similar.
I remember the principal telling us that like during that, when Andre Agassi went to school there, like during when they did that summer camp up at the Lee Canyon, they have a tennis court there, and that was the only reason he was allowed to go, and is because they had a tennis court up there at the camp, and he had to practice. And so just that element of kind of like it dated back, like you can kind of see the pattern. It was just an interesting piece of information to get and to receive.
Interesting. I remember one of the coolest things that ever happened in my elementary school was a hot air balloon, Tony the Tiger, landed in our field one day by accident. And so we all got to go out and see the giant Tony the Tiger. And also, too, growing up on Lake Mead in Decatur, for some reason, there was always hot air balloons.
There was always hot air balloons.
Always hot air balloons.
Vegas.
Like, we'd wake up and it would be, you just hear like,
yeah.
And it'd be super loud. And I'd be like, and I'd go outside and I'd be like, and they'd be like right there, like just floating over. That's weird to think of now.
It's, yeah, when you said
Where
that, I remember.
Have all the balloons gone?
And when you said that sound, like I remember like waking up and like hearing it and going like, oh, there's a hot air balloon close by. Like, let's go find it. Like, we used to always be flying around.
Bring back the hot air balloon.
Yeah, what about Vegas? There's too much Maverick helicopters.
Just, they'd slice through them all. Just, Tiger, Tony would be dead. Did you have field day in elementary school?
Yeah, we had field day every year, and then that
was so fun.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite days where for us, it was like obstacle courses all outside, and parents could volunteer. And there'd be like pass the water balloon over your head and tug of war and things like that.
There was one kid that always just dominated everything.
Always.
And I always wondered, like, wow, I wonder if he's going to be like an athlete or something. And he ended up being an NFL football player.
Wow.
Yeah.
The people that dominated in my school, they ended up being, they're on pain pills now because they hurt their bodies with athleticism.
Yeah, well, this guy's got a lot of God, so I don't know.
I remember too, they do testing right in PE every year, and you had to do like a certain amount of pull-ups and the touch toes thing, which is ironic because, you know, I'm a yogi now. But when I was young, I just was so not flexible. I wasn't flexible at all, especially my legs. And so when you'd have to, you know, see how far you could touch past your toes on the box, and I could never even make it to my toes. And I would just like all the kids were just breaking their hamstrings, just like.
Did you guys ever have like sports meets? Like, I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know if, I think because we were a private school, like once a year, like we would travel somewhere. I don't want to say it was even California.
What? No, we didn't travel nowhere.
Well, I know you didn't, but, and then like we competed against other like private schools.
I really couldn't stand competition and kickball. I was the kid that loathed kickball. Like, I was like, this is not okay. Like, I dreaded when it was my turn to kick because I wouldn't kick, and it was just like, just all around. But I loved tetherball and foursquare. Like, all those were my games all day.
I like the one that I always wanted to be good at was like the high jump, like with that pole. You know,
yeah,
like
that
I
always
always
looked
wanted
so
to,
fun.
It did, right. I always wanted to figure out how to do that and be able to jump high over it.
There was a part of me that, you know, always dreamt to be able to be an athlete.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, that's not who I am.
There we go. Elementary school.
All right. Wow, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. Oh, you want to do a top 5?
Yeah, if you got time.
We always got time, baby.
You pick one of them.
All right. It's between top 5 things that scare you. Ooh, spooky. Or top 5 things that inspire you. Ooh.
So let's
just do both.
Pick. What's the first thing that comes up to your mind right now?
Well, I'm scared of Edward Scissorhands. That requires so much explanation, but I don't feel like getting into. I know he's a good guy. I know it's played by Johnny Depp. I know ultimately the story is good. I've watched it several times. It doesn't matter. I'm still scared of him because I was far too young. My mom made me watch it. She held my hands down. She made me watch it. I know that sounds weird, but I was terrified. I had nightmares ever since. And then you know what else scares me? Talking on the phone. I'd much rather text.
So balance it out. What inspires you?
Oh, everything inspires me. Everything but Edward Scissorhands.
So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you close your eyes?
Butterflies.
Okay.
Flowers. The weather. Music. Tea. Honestly, tea. I couldn't get through a day without tea. Tea inspires me. You inspire me. The birds. A drive. The canyon. What about you?
I think when I think about fear right now, I just think of like disconnection, like that feeling of being lost. I don't know what activates that. There's things that activate it, but just this feeling of lost. I think another thing that scares me is like when I don't know what's expected of me.
I'm scared of those things too. You come up with really good things. You articulate feelings well.
Well, I had a minute to sit, and then like when I don't know what I'm walking into, like a room, you know. Like it takes me a minute. Like I remember like when I worked at one job, like I remember I was in a normal space, but I was also in a space I used to compensate that fear with like trying to impress people, and I had lost that desire to impress people. but I still kind of had like my fear and protection. So I went to this one job and I didn't speak for like my first 2 months there. One person asked like, "Do you talk?"
Wow.
But it was a job that I could do without having to talk.
See, that's my dream to do now, is to get a job and just like not talk, and I'll just be the mysterious one. Because all my jobs, I always just got too involved with everyone. That now it's just like...
Yeah, I was definitely coming out of just being just exhausted by just being enmeshed and just fully in this job. Just was like, I'm not talking to nobody. I'm just going to do my job.
That's kind of nice. A lot of people on TikTok said a good introvert job is data entry.
I can see that.
But where and what kind of, like, I'll do it. Send me some data, you guys, and I'll enter it. Tell me when and where, and I'll be there.
Things that inspire me, I think anytime I see someone like living from their heart, like you can just see it. Like when you see someone in their passion, I think anytime I just see someone like you know that they're in pain and like they just are just determined not to let it take their joy. Like people that inspire me have always been like a couple dishwashers come to mind that I've worked with.
I worked with some, oh my God, they inspired me so much.
Yeah, there's just some, so I guess like humility, humbleness inspires me. Humility inspires me. Being kind, being giving, being generous inspires me.
Totally. Being honest.
There's nothing that makes me like feel more like deterred or disgusted is like greed. And like when someone has like abundant and someone has like isn't being neglected and like there's awareness in that and it's still just like nothing changes like that. Nothing's asking what bothers me. All right, I'm done.
One thing that scares me too is I guess I don't really know how to put it into words. People that don't know that they're connected to God. Like people that are so living in this physical realm that they believe it all fully and can't see past it. But I wouldn't even say they scare me, but they're just, I don't want to be around them.
It's a very interesting question because I feel like I've really been, that's really what this last 2 years has really been for me, is to really just try to really go after and be with my fears and to try to break them apart. And it's been very interesting just to kind of look at the patterns and just recognize that A Course in Miracles really helped me, and it's really hard. I mean, it takes some time but just to study it and to like meditate, and you start to sit still and you just start to decipher and see just these elements of illusions.
I mean, you've helped me a lot. Like I was scared. I mean, I had to face my fear of being alone, dying alone, of dying. You know what I mean? Like that, I think, is the ultimate fear you have to face.
I had a wild meditation in 2020, I think, and it took me to the core of my two fears, and every fear that I have somehow funnels to these two fears, and it's the fear of death and the fear that God has abandoned me. All of my fears root out of those two. It's like the taproot of all of my fears. It feels like that was the source of them. And so it was like if I could somehow squash those two things, whatever I was afraid of would be eliminated. So, I don't know, that was a gift that came to me.
You offer a lot of wisdom in your words, baby, just through your experience, and I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you bring to this podcast.
You too.
And I know that one day I will have a different guest, but you'll always be back. And you're always waiting in the corner.
I'll always be your side chick.
Do you have any shout outs?
I wanted to shout out Love for Golf and Golf Barn.
Yes.
Every time I'm out here, I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit of clarity. I just feel like the love for golf, and just we're trying to build a place for somebody to feel safe to start golf, and a place for a new person, or even an older person that has been in golf for a while that wants to give back to someone who's just starting. Because when I started playing with these younger kids, I started recognizing I've been playing since I was 10. There's all these little rules that I don't know, and like most of us don't know that play. Like people have been playing. I've been playing for 30 years. I don't know most of the rules. I just go out and have a good time. And so, yeah, just trying to create a space for people to get together and learn the game of golf. And Angel Park has given us a window of time to do that there on Sundays right now. So just trying to we'll start there and build that out. And then the golf barn. If you have any used old golf clubs and equipment in Vegas that you'd like to donate, let me know. We can meet up, or I'll come pick it up. Be happy to.
All the links are below. You can follow on Instagram, Love for Golf, LUV .for golf barn. And currently, too, if you come out to learn golf, I'm there too.
Yeah, King Pollys there right now helping me out.
I'm quite the putter these days. No, but I really enjoy it, and it's definitely a whole new way for me to approach sports, where my mind isn't involved. Like, it's truly just like joy and heart and showing up and seeing what happens and learning. And I love that your love of golf has worn off on me. It's kind of really cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing game, so it's cool just to share.
And to watch you share, and you share from the heart, and you, like, we took these two little boys out last Sunday, and they, by the end of it, were putting and excited, and like had just spent a nice chunk of time outside in a space that they wouldn't have, it can be intimidating.
And it's the thing that I love about golf is people don't realize, but like it feeds like your mind, your body, and your soul. Like just being there, like people don't realize like that you're getting fed, and so it's like a garden to me for people.
Beautiful, baby. Closing statement. Okay, here's my closing statement. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please leave a review, a comment. I'm excited. Next week, I'm going to have a guest other than my husband, if it works out. But I go with the flow, so we'll see. But I'm very excited just to be here every week with you guys. I'm really sending you all the love in the world. I hope that miracles are already finding you in the new year, because I have a feeling that there will be a lot of them. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. And if you listen to this whole thing, I applaud you. And I'd love to hear your funny elementary school stories too. Leave anything below. We love you. Happy New Year. Peace.